Well, as we mentioned, this visit comes just days after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for President Putin. He's accused of committing war crimes related to the abduction and the relocation of children from Ukraine to Russia.
Now, the ICC issued warrants for Putin along with his commissioner for children's rights on Friday in an unprecedented action against a permanent member of the UN Security Council. So joining us live now to further discuss this International Criminal Court and what lies next for Putin is Alexander Greenawalt, an international law professor at Pace University. Thank you so much for being here today. You know, there have been a lot of accusations of war crimes against Russia in the now just over a year since the invasion began. We do know the ICC has been investigating this since those early days. Why these charges specifically and not others?
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's an interesting point that the arrest warrant is only for the deportation of children out of Ukraine. Certainly a very serious crime, but there are many other crimes for which there's evidence. It's hard to know exactly what happened. We don't know. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court had to receive authorization from a chamber of judges to issue the warrant. So we don't know what was presented to the judges. We don't know whether there were other charges. We don't know whether there will be other charges in the future. I would not be surprised if we see future charges for crimes like the attacks on the civilians, on civilian apartment buildings, some of the massacres we read about, and so forth. But for now, I do think it sends a very important statement about a very serious crime to have this arrest warrant that we do have.
And listen, the warrant sounds like dramatic news. You don't hear about arrest warrants for presidents every day. And so it furthers Putin's isolation. It may make travel a little more difficult if he goes to a country that's obligated to honor this and arrest him. But at the end of the day, the New York Times puts it like this. The court has no power to arrest sitting heads of state or bring them to trial, and instead must rely on other leaders and governments to act as its sheriffs around the world. A suspect who manages to evade capture may never have a hearing to confirm the charges. So at the end of the day, is this warrant merely a gesture?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think, first of all, it's an important statement from the international community. I think it helps frame the narrative around Putin. But also, you know, we've been down this road before, for example, with Slobodan Milosevic, who was the president of Serbia. And when he was indicted by an international war crimes tribunal, the International Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, it was the same situation. He was untouchable. But guess what? A few years later, he fell from power, and he was extradited to The Hague, and he faced a trial. So it's hard to know what the future will bring, but certainly if Putin were to ever be arrested and tried at the ICC, he would not be the first head of state who had seemed untouchable to later find himself in the dock.
So let's talk about what it means for Putin moving forward. How much of an actual threat of arrest does he face? And how does it change where he may travel to or decisions he might make? Because certain countries he may still be able to go to.
Yes. So the states that the International Criminal Court is a membership-based court. It's based on a treaty. The states that have joined that treaty have an obligation to assist in the arrest warrants of the court. Now, whether all of them would or not is also an open question. There already is an outstanding indictment against the former head of Sudan, Bashir, and there were some situations in the past where he traveled to states who were members of the ICC and was not extradited. But certainly it's a risk. So he faces a risk in traveling to any country that is a member of the ICC, or even one that might have an agreement with a member of the ICC, an extradition agreement. But many states are not parties to the treaty, including the United States, including China. And so it's not that he wouldn't be able to travel anywhere in the world, but it certainly would be a concern for him.
All right.
And again, whatever he may feel about this arrest warrant, and we've kind of broken down a little bit, He made a surprise visit to Ukraine, to Mariupol, a Russian-controlled city, on Saturday. Today, he's welcoming the president of China. So, yes, there's this arrest warrant, but certainly Putin appears to be anything but scared, even with this warrant out there now. Just worth noting. Alexander Greenawalt, international law professor at Pace University. Thank you for your time and insight, sir. We appreciate it.